everybody. This is just so exciting to see everyone. I'm Hannah. I'm an organizer with the Rural Organizing Project. So many faces that I recognize and voices that I recognize. It is just such a joy to be with you all. Welcome to the 29th Annual Rural Caucus and Strategy Session. Woo! Obviously a little different than we're used to, but still just moving right now to see all of you in this moment and be together. Before we begin, we just wanted to let everyone know that we do have Spanish interpretation available. If you would prefer Spanish interpretation and you're on a computer, just let us know by dropping it in the chat box, and we'll give you instructions for how to turn on the Spanish interpretation feature. And I'm going to let Haley translate that as well for us.
Hola y bienvenidos al año 29 de nuestra sesión rural de Caucus y Estrategia. Antes de empezar, queremos compartir que tenemos disponible interpretación en español. Si prefieren interpretación y están en una computadora, déjenos saber en el chat y les damos instrucciones para empezar la función de interpretación. Muchas gracias.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Haley. Drop it in the chat box if you would like interpretation. It is just so amazing that COVID-19 cannot stop us from being together still to share and strategize about our work for rural justice. Please feel free to leave your video on, even if you're eating or you have kiddos or pets in the background. We love seeing that. We know, we're all living our lives, even as we're part of this. So please feel free to leave your videos on. Over the next 90 minutes, we'll be digging in together around this year's theme, which is building our common good, deep change in the midst of crisis. To make sure everyone can participate, we're going to start by just running quickly over a couple of quick tips for using Zoom today, in case folks are new to it. And then we also wanted to let you know that we're going to be recording this part of the caucus up until we break out into small groups, and then the final bit as well.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Hi, everyone. My name is Paige, and I'm an intern at ROP, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about how to use the chat box. So if you move your mouse or cursor to the bottom middle portion of the screen, you will see a chat box button. If you click on it, a chat box will pop up. If you're looking for the setting and you can't find it at the bottom of your screen, click the button that looks like 3 little dots in a horizontal row. That should show you the chat box setting.
Awesome. And then also, if you're if you're on video, you can change your screen from speaker view.
Whoops.
You're on mute, Hannah.
Oh, thanks. Sorry about that. I'm unmuted now. Sorry, y'all. The other thing we wanted to let you know is that if you are on video, you can change your screen from speaker view, where it shows only one person talking, to gallery view, where you can see a bunch of folks in the caucus call all at once, and you can sort of scroll through. You'll have a bunch of little icons with faces, and then you can scroll through and see everybody. And you might want to change views a couple of times throughout the caucus, because sometimes one person may be talking, like right now, and you want to just see that person, but other times we're going to be singing together, or we're going to be in small group breakout sessions, and you'll want to be able to see more folks at once. So you can change that setting in the upper right hand. If you take your mouse and scroll up, you can hit speaker view or gallery view. You'll see little icons in the upper right hand. Oops, I think Gary is sharing his screen. Is there a way we can turn that off? Sorry, y'all, small technical difficulties. This is our first virtual caucus. We're all figuring it out together as we go. I love it. Awesome. Paige is going to talk us through the agenda.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hannah. So I'm just going to give a really quick rundown of today's agenda. So the Rural Organizing Fellows have chosen a poem to kick off our time together. Then we'll hear reflections on the work of the ROP network in this moment. ROP board co-chair Lisa Gonzalez is our keynote speaker this year, and she's going to be sharing about building our common good, deep change in the midst of crisis. After that, we'll highlight some of the incredible organizing work that's been happening across the state, and then enter into breakout groups. We'll come back together for a brief closing, and then the Rural Organizing Fellows will send us off in a Zoom sing-along.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm really excited to sing on Zoom together with you. I am thrilled to introduce you all to this year's incredible cohort of Rural Organizing Fellows. ROP's fellowship program brings together young organizers from across rural Oregon over the course of the year to build their organizing skills, break rural isolation, build collective political analysis, and to support their leadership for human dignity and democracy in their rural communities. This year we have 9 fellows from across the state who are all doing incredible work in their communities. If folks want to, if you don't already have your screen turned on to gallery view, turn it on so you can see more folks. And then Rural Organizing Fellows, will you just wave so folks can see you? If you're a Rural Organizing Fellow, give us a wave. If you can't see folks, hit the arrow button and you can scroll through and you'll see our fellows waving. Thanks, y'all. It's so nice to see you and have you on today. I'm going to hand it over to Josh, Jordan, Des, and Orion, 4 of our fabulous fellows, who are going to share a poem with us to help kick things off.
Great, and before we get started, we'll just introduce ourselves really quick. I'm Jordan Jungworth, and I am an organizer down in Roseburg, Oregon.
My name is Josh, and I do most of my organizing in Polk County.
My name is Des, and I am from Lincoln County. I don't see Orion.
I'm not sure if Orion's on just yet, but we do have a poem for everyone called Revolution is Love by Asada Shakur. Oh, and my cat wants to be a part of this as well.
I love it.
This is the 21st century, and we need to redefine revolution. This planet needs a people's revolution, a humanist revolution. Revolution is not about bloodshed or about going to the mountains and fighting. We will fight if we are forced to, but the fundamental goal of revolution must be peace.
We need a revolution of the mind. We need a revolution of the heart. We need a revolution of the spirit. The power of the people is stronger than any weapon. A people's revolution can't be stopped. We need to be weapons of mass construction, weapons of mass love. It's not enough just to change the system. We need to change ourselves. We've got to make this world user-friendly. User-friendly.
Are you ready to sacrifice to end world hunger? To sacrifice to end colonialism? To end neocolonialism? To end racism? To end sexism? Revolution means the end of exploitation. Revolution means respecting people from other cultures. Revolution is creative. Revolution means treating your mate as a friend and an equal. Revolution is sexy. Revolution means respecting and learning from your children. Revolution is beautiful. Revolution means protecting the people, the plants, the animals, the air, the water. Revolution means saving this planet. Revolution is love.
Thank you so much for sharing that incredible poem. What an important way to start off this gathering in the kind of moment that we're in right now, where we are seeing folks take the streets all across the country to talk about what is the revolution that takes care of people look like in this moment. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jess Campbell, and I'm the very proud director of ROP. I get to work with this incredible staff team and team of fellows, and I am Zooming to you all out of Cottage Grove. So while we're really bummed that we can't be meeting together in person, because this is really truly the one day of the year that we look forward to most, because we get to have all of the incredible people from across the state together for a whole day of strategizing and sharing inspiration and hope and sharing struggles and problem solving with each other. And it feels like a giant family reunion and party and all in one. But we're grateful that we get to do this over Zoom. I definitely wanted to acknowledge that, you know, we're trying to be creative and innovative in this process of doing things over Zoom, but also want to acknowledge, because of the structures and lack of infrastructure, in particular around broadband internet, there are folks who would like to participate in this kind of a gathering who can't, but could with an in-person gathering. And I just wanted to acknowledge it and name it And may we all fight together for the infrastructure that our communities need so we can all fully participate in all the ways that we want to in our democracy and in this moment. All right, well, I usually have the task every caucus of offering some reflections on the last year and some thoughts about the coming year, and sometimes I get a few minutes to do it. This year I'm gonna try and do it in 3, so we'll see how it goes. So first and foremost, on the top of everyone's minds are the ways that folks are mobilizing right now. We have seen rural Oregonians across the state mobilize for Black lives, breaking the silence about racism in their own communities, across the state, across the country. And this is a moment where tons of new people are taking action for the very first time. It is incredibly inspiring. I can't tell you how inspired I am by seeing like the rodeo queen from my town saying that she is going to join the protest. Watching people who have always been right on the political spectrum go, whoa, no, we need to listen. We really need to listen right now because we have not been hearing it. It is no secret to those of us who work in rural Oregon that white supremacy takes many, many forms, from racial profiling and violence by police, from ICE tearing families and communities apart, to neo-Nazis marching in our communities and seeking to mainstream. It inspires me, however, to be a part of this network of literally thousands of rural Oregonians that see themselves as ordinary people, even though y'all are incredible leaders who are incredibly powerful in the work that you do in your communities, but nonetheless are humble and wonderful about being everyday ordinary people who've taken it on their work to undermine white supremacy at every turn in their communities. And we are seeing that over and over and over again. We also know that COVID really hit communities of color disproportionately hard, both because of the structures that are available to communities of color and how access to healthcare and medical treatment looks in this country. COVID has hit all of our communities hard, and we have really seen at ROP the incredible, incredible work of thousands of people joining together to not just help each other out of charity, but to really work together in terms of mutual aid, knowing that we need to really be interdependent in order to survive crises like this one and the many crises to come. Not only is COVID a national and international and global pandemic, there's also the global recession that comes with it. And we have seen how that is hurting our communities left and right. As you all know, at ROP, we have really pivoted to do strategy sessions. I don't know who's highlighting my notes, thanks. I'm not forgetting it, I promise. We've pivoted to do strategy sessions on various layers of the work that we normally would talk about at the caucus. So we've done an Economics for Everyone session. We had a strategy session to talk about how are we building resilient food systems that really ensure that our communities have access to good, healthy food, even if supply chains are breaking down, and even if our food banks and food pantries have barriers that prevent our neighbors and us from accessing them. And how are we not just struggling over crumbs when we can be building the rural power to actually take on the fact that our communities have been pillaged of resources and wealth. And if we actually saw that wealth reinvested in our communities, we would not be fighting for just survival, but our communities would be thriving. And that is really the crux of the work that we're doing at ROP right now, and what we are excited to embark on together here is how are we doing that power building? How are we working in league with each other around this? There's many ways that this is taking shape, and you're going to all hear tons of examples. I wanted to take just a moment because we got a lot of questions about our Community Organizing Center. For those of you who saw our Community Organizing Center on Main Street, Cottage Grove, our 4,000 square foot movement power space, it is looking very different right in this moment. We are hard at work running a mutual aid center in partnership with the school district to serve hygiene supplies, school supplies, and food to families hardest hit by the pandemic, which in my community are immigrant and asylum seeking families and families who are unhoused. And that has looked like us really pushing community services that have multiple barriers, particularly around documentation status, to open up their doors and be more inclusive while we're building relationships with folks who are most impacted, who know that they can come to a place that is a community center that isn't just serving middle-class white folks in our community. It has been really exciting, really fun, and we've brought a ton of new people into the work who have never been political before and just wanted to roll up their sleeves and start handing out food. And we've given out thousands of food boxes. We just did a count. We have given out 5,000 toothbrushes. It's pretty cool, the amount of work that is going into that. That said, I mentioned that we have some failing safety nets, and this moment made it very clear how many of our systems that we rely on daily and our communities rely on daily are not actually as steady or as solid as many had hoped. And what gives me a lot of hope and inspiration, and I think I speak for the whole ROP staff team about what gives us hope and inspiration, is just how many human dignity groups and community leaders are showing up right now to help each other during the crisis, to survive immediately, and to build solutions toward the long term. And there's tons of folks doing that work, and I'm really excited for the small group portion coming up in just a minute, so everyone could be sharing what that's looking like in your communities. That said, as you all know, we've been having thousands of conversations with groups across the Human Dignity Group Network and community leaders about what does this moment call from us. And this is a moment where I would love that roadmap slide, if we could get that puppy up.
We can.
Thank you. So as many of you have participated, we've had all these conversations with brilliant people all over our network about what are we doing together here. And again, because of the leadership of groups, you know, we were having these conversations about how do we respond, and many of you were like, hey, ROP, your job isn't just about how do you respond, it's actually about what are we doing to shift this so we don't have to constantly be responding in order to survive crisis. And so together we developed this is the debut of some of the language. So we would love your feedback. We would love your input. We'd love your guidance on the rural roadmap for a just coronavirus response. So there's 4 kind of planks of this roadmap that we are exploring. Healthy people make healthy communities. We are all essential, safe and welcoming communities, and connecting our voices. Under healthy people make healthy communities, we have a lot of suggested policy ideas. We wanted to pull out kind of the bigger strategies. One is Oregon is unfortunately at the bottom of the charts for COVID testing in the country, as well as for tracing and treatment. And we would like to see that change. We want to see expanded COVID testing, tracing, and treatment. We want to see safe housing, childcare, schools, and workplaces for all, that conditions actually take the pandemic seriously, and that workers and the people who are accessing these levels of infrastructure are safe. We need healthcare for everyone, because we know now, I mean, all of our friends who maybe didn't believe it before, our individual health is absolutely connected to our community health. And so if one of us is then uninsured, that makes all of us less safe and less healthy. This is the moment that we want to push for healthcare for everyone. We want to release all people held in unsafe conditions, including jails, prisons, and immigrant detention, where COVID has not been taken seriously and people are getting infected at incredible and devastating rates. We also want to see healthy food and clean water for all, and sustainable local food. We are all essential. We want to see, and for the first time ever in my lifetime, we're having national conversations about universal basic income. It is amazing. And this is something that all of our folks have been really wondering aloud to. How are we using this moment to imagine with our communities what it would be like if everyone in our community could focus on their passions? It's not just like everyone's going to collect a check and sit on their behinds. We know we're hard work and rural Oregonians, and that there's beautiful ways our communities could blossom. We also want to see universal childcare, and we want to see healthy and accessible learning environments for all. And then next up is safe and welcoming communities. We want to see safety from state violence. Number one, for a reason, for all the reasons that people are in the streets and showing up and having strong conversations right now. Whether that is police violence, whether that is the violence that ICE perpetuates on communities by tearing families apart and tearing communities apart, or the violence of the state abandoning certain communities. We want to see forgiveness, not just a moratorium, but forgiveness of rents and mortgages. We don't want to just see everyone get a really big bill at the end of the moratorium that is going to force evictions and make our housing crisis even worse. In that vein, we want to see housing for all. We want to see investment in rural Oregon for the long haul, and we want inclusive democracy for everyone who's most impacted by the decisions that are being made in their communities. And finally, we have connecting our voices. We have seen how important the United States Postal Service is, and it is under attack yet again. It is the largest employer of Black Americans. It is an incredibly unionized public service, and it is under attack yet again. And we not only need the United Postal Service to communicate in so many of our communities because we don't have internet access, but because we vote by mail in this state. And isn't that a solution for other states too in this moment where people are being forced into polling sites and into unsafe conditions during a pandemic? We also want to see publicly funded community media. Community media has been essential to sharing good information in this moment and connecting people to resources, and we need more publicly funded public media. We need to see broadband internet for all, and that is possible, y'all. We could fight for that and get that. And we also want to really see the celebration of the mosaic of experiences and communities that make up rural Oregon. So I know that that is a whirlwind. We will be sharing that out shortly with you all. I saw the chat. We are incredibly excited about the roadmap. And again, we want feedback. Please share it in your small group. And we will take good notes and keep working on it together. So all of that said, it is now my honor and privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, Lisa Gonzalez. Lisa is committed to practicing liberation in many forms and on many fronts, including workers' rights to organize, anti-gentrification and fair housing for all, poverty and welfare rights, anti-racism and immigrant rights, and ever-evolving community care work in Corvallis and beyond. Lisa is one of the founding members of Rapid Action Community Response, aka RACER, a human dignity group that formed in 2017 in response to escalating white supremacist activity and a growing culture of threats to immigrant residents with the empowerment of ICE by the current administration. Lisa is also a founding member of the Mid-Valley Industrial Workers of the World that focuses on local labor and cultural organizing, and most recently, the emergence of Tenants United Corvallis. Thank you so much for sharing your organizing wisdom and strategic thinking today, Lisa. The floor is yours.
You're muted, Lisa.
I'm looking for Lisa to see if I can help.
I had to unmute. Can everyone hear me now?
We sure can. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, well, what I was saying in my muted moment was that on the heels of that beautifully inclusive ROP roadmap, hopefully I can share a bit more context for us to think through the rest of our time together. So welcome again to everybody. You know, if we could be physically together, I imagine us gathering in one big circle so we could all see each other. I'm honored to be in this Zoom room with all of you. I want to begin, though, like Jess, acknowledging how difficult and painful this time is for so many of us. We continue to face uncertainties and loss, lots of loss, and it just plain hurts. It hurts. So for those we've lost, and for those of us made most vulnerable, I hope our circle can be strong and resilient and open. On that note, I want to shout out to all those pushing back against systematic police brutality and the murder of people of color across the nation. This is a very It's a catalytic moment. So here we are. Our ability to interact with each other, as we can see, has been reoriented and reorganized, to say the least. One of the aspects of daily life I find comforting about living in Corvallis is the likelihood that I will run into familiar faces at the market, the library, the movie theater. These are random familiar intersections that are now relatively rare. The social rituals that bind us together in celebration, play, love, grief, study, protest have been severely curtailed in the hopes of containing this now global contagion. Day by day, it becomes more clear that the dominant message that we are returning to normal, rapidly and successfully returning to normal, is just so much spin to keep the news cycling away from critical truths. In early March, when local and finally federal governments called for us to shelter in place, there was mainstream talk about how we were all in this together. As scary and unpredictable as this invisible enemy is, we could also look at it as a great equalizer. No one is immune, making every one of us equal in our vulnerability. So sheltering in place as a strategy of containment was a crucial step, but one that immediately spotlighted the problems of what to do for all of those who could not shelter in place or could not do it safely. Business as usual came to a halt. Suddenly, the machines of production for profit were somewhat subordinate to our need to protect the health of whole populations. Our society, already shaped by structures and systems defined by layers of inequities, has been sorely challenged by the arrival of COVID-19. What does it mean to be prioritizing our common survival in a society so defined by neoliberal corporate capitalism? We're in a state of intersecting crises where we face unequal levels of security and unequal levels of risk. Then there are all the folk working essential jobs, often in the low-wage sector, in agriculture, meat processing, grocery stores, nursing homes, hospitals, and the list goes on. Workers thrust into even more unsafe working conditions than they were already experiencing. Their health and that of their families and communities sacrificed under the cover of a placating hero narrative. The contradictions are evident in worker stories of stress, fear, illness, and loss of life. Over 40 million people have experienced job loss in the past 10 plus weeks. And for many, the loss of a paycheck means not enough for basic living expenses, for food, for rent, for healthcare. For those who were able to keep their jobs and work from home, the demands of being a productive worker while juggling the needs of family, including homeschooling for lots of folks, has added layers and layers of stress. And in the midst of all this, the rich continue to get richer. Profit margins and proclamations about saving the economy continue to define what risks are deemed necessary and who is necessarily expendable. The latest statistics on unemployment are dismal, and yet the stock market is on the rise. For instance, Amazon workers are fighting for safer conditions, while Bezos rakes in billions more in profits. So, we're being called to confront the likely long-term effects of this powerful virus and its ability to adapt and change. Today, Hannah welcomed us to the 29th annual ROP Caucus. I am grateful for the grounding that comes with long relationships and long memories of struggle in the face of forces that often appear insurmountable. I have sat with my own worries and fears and have been reassured that we are not alone and we are not without agency. ROP's enduring history is testament to our determination to envision a better world and organize for transformative change over the long haul. So what are the real and potential challenges right now? Well, I'm just going to throw out a list. The restructuring of waged work and likely chronic unemployment, issues of worker safety and precarity, restructuring public education and the pressures towards privatization, growing housing and food insecurity, escalating threats to our immigrant communities, falling prey to illness in a mostly privatized healthcare system and the debt that we can incur if that happens, severe stress on networks of care, informal networks and institutional. I worry about the co-optation of our organizing and community care work, corporate nonprofitization. Mutual aid could become an industry. Criminalization of our organizing work and acts of resistance. The ongoing legitimation of the politics and activities of white supremacy. And the likelihood that we're in for more crises. That's kind of where things are at. So, long list, taking a deep breath. So what does solidarity look like at this moment? Who's defining our current needs and how to engage the challenges we face, like distributing food, procuring shelter, providing respite? Over the past few weeks, I've been participating in several grassroots conversations about what it means to be ready and available to address the growing needs of our communities. And I keep hearing a call for solidarity, not charity. Folks all over the country are self-organizing to deal with this crisis, identifying needs and problem solving how to meet them collectively, keeping basic functions up and running as our institutionalized systems prove unable to respond effectively. Mutual aid projects blooming all over the place, organized rent strikes and calls for canceling debt. Workers are striking to resist unsafe conditions all over the country and often demanding the power to define what work is truly essential to get us through this crisis. Ongoing fights for immigrant rights and abolishing ICE, detention, deportation, and border exclusions. Building relations and networks rooted in care requires us to collectively confront the severe inequities that are now that much more glaringly apparent. And in so many ways, we're finding and facilitating our power from the grassroots. Solidarity is also about recognizing the courage that comes from our collective commitment to each other. How have our relationships been impacted by COVID-19? And by what we're experiencing right now? Our individual relationships, relationships with community, political relationships, economic, environmental. What are the new or escalating crises that are facing us right now? Unemployment, housing, food supply, healthcare. What should we be working to maintain and what are we being called to take on right now? And where should we be building and strengthening ourselves and our organizing? You know, this is an opportunity for us to share our experiences, our stories, our dilemmas. This crisis isn't so much throwing us into some unknown realm. Rather, it's called us to attend more acutely to the struggles that are most immediately endangering our basic survival. So how is our work framing this new normal? Is it actually affording us more opportunity to be engaged in collective problem solving? I think we're learning a lot about how to come together and care for each other safely, thoughtfully, and creatively during this pandemic. We're learning to care while wearing masks and practicing physical, not social distancing. We've had to forego beloved gatherings, social rituals, and face-to-face visits. We're learning together how to nurture and sustain our relationships differently. And this caucus is a fine example. So, if this is the new normal, I ask, what do we want to normalize? What can we do? This is an ominous moment where there are openings to alter our social patterns with radical intention. How are we embodying a vision of caring for our common good? So here's some things I think we're doing. We can continue to share what we're doing in various home places. The example of ROP's our organizing center as a hub for mutual aid. Share our immaterial and material resources whenever possible. And be our own historians in process. For instance, ROP, the Media Center, storytelling projects, the strategy sessions that ROP has hosted, the People's Archives that we're going to be developing as part of our community center. So our stories, our narratives, we're gathering them we're archiving these moments right now. We're creating an archive that's going to be valuable for years to come. So in the midst of that, remembering that burnout is real. I mean, I know that, with all the fervor and energy that we have, we jumped into this crisis, and I've seen lots of folks giving lots of their time and energy. And knowing that we are likely in this for the long haul, we've got to imagine how we're going to sustain ourselves over time and take care of each other over time. That the administration has been using war as a metaphor for us dealing with this crisis. And war is not a metaphor for deep change. So how can we strategize our actions based in empathy and love for each other? Empathy in action. And finally, how do we see ourselves in relationship to the struggles beyond our own localities? What does it mean to be in a global movement for radical change? So I know I have thrown lots of questions at you all, and because I feel like right now is a time for articulating the questions that will help us navigate sort of what our next moves are. And that's what we're going to do next, is start strategizing together. And I am so happy to be with all of you. And I thank all of you for being here too. So what an important moment for us to be together, sharing our work and strategizing next steps. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over. I think Emma is going to be following me. But again, so happy to be here with you. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. People, we're going to move our bodies a little bit now, so get loosened up. I know we've been sitting and listening for a while. My name's Emma. I'm an organizer based out of Deschutes County. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you, Lisa, for those powerful, powerful words. So we're going to do a little bit, just to loosen ourselves up before we go into breakout rooms, we're going to do 2 hand raises based on what work has been going on around the network so far, or over the course of the last year, I mean. Dancer, do you want to kick us off? You're on mute.
There we go. Hi, I'm Dan.
Yeah.
I'm the newest ROP organizer. I live in Douglas County and work in Justin County part-time. I'm very happy to be here. People are taking to the streets to call for justice for George Floyd and have taken to the streets for immigrant justice. No war with Iran, for the women's marches, and in support of frontline workers. Raise your hand if you've participated or helped at a rally or public demonstration in this last year.
So go through, oh, so many hands are up. Go through, click side to side, cheer for each other. You can come off mute and give people a wave, give people a cheer.
Yes.
This is, oh, all those claps, nice. You can do physical stuff too. Nice. Okay, this second one, hands down. Raise your hand if you've made it easier for people in your community to access resources in the last year. Have you donated, volunteered, or asked for support? Everyone who pressured Chief Justice Martha Walters to ban ICE from making arrests at Oregon courthouses, put your hands up. We know people are getting groceries for each other, connecting people with immigration legal counsel, and accompaniment to ICE check-ins. Does everybody have their hands up? Saw a few.
Woo!
A few more. Have you supported a warming shelter this year? Did you help pass Oregon's Worker Relief Fund to ensure that undocumented Oregonians can access pandemic relief funds? Oh, a few more hands went up. I see it. I see it. Nice work, everybody. Mute and cheer for each other.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a little bit more subdued than I was expecting, but we're going to have a chance to warm ourselves up and talk in small groups just after this. I'll have Sasha explain what we're going to do.
Hi, y'all. This is Sasha. I became an organizer with ROP in January. I'm originally from Kentucky, but based out of Lane County now. So Zoom is going to break everybody into randomly assigned groups here in just a little bit. And we have 3 questions that we're going to ask you all to talk about. And those will be shared during the breakout session too, so don't worry about trying to remember them, but we are going to talk them over right now. So the first thing that you'll do, sorry about this. Okay, the first thing that you'll do is you'll go around and name your pronouns, your community, your group, and then what's one thing that you'd like to share from your group's organizing over the last year. The second thing is you'll do another go around and share what's the top priority for your community and your group that you would like to take collective action on with other groups across the state. And then you'll go around one more time and list something that you're going to take away from your conversation. So before we do our breakout, I just want to remind everybody that, you know, we all have noises in our house that we're so used to that we don't think of it as background noise. Like, I'm not for sure if you can hear my kids right now or not. So just to be on the safe side, make sure that you mute yourself when you first get into your room. And also, we'll have about 7 people or so per group. So that means that you'll only have a few minutes to speak. So I just want to make sure to remind people that this is a role-centered space for ROP's human dignity groups. So if you are not a rural organizer, or if you are a paid staff at another organization, please make sure that there is space for rural organizers to share first. And very lastly, before we break out, I just want to remind people that this is not going to be about consensus. Don't feel like you all have to come to an agreement on any of these questions and report back later. This is actually so that people can share across states and connect those dots between issues and peoples and communities. So with that, we're going to break out. Thank you all so much, and I can't wait to hear what you all talk about. So, wow, these answers are great. Catherine, you said this is real news, real people doing real things to help each other out. And that is so true. People are talking about learning more about work across the state, the solidarity they felt. And while, of course, people wish that we could be together, this was a really great time to spend with each other. I know that there are a lot of things that each of you all could have done with your Saturday morning, and you chose to spend it with leaders from across your state. And that says a lot about who you are. It says a lot about who we are as a community. And I just wanted to say, we all wanted to say that we just really appreciate you all and your commitment to building together for our common good across Oregon, and that this work that we're doing together for deep and lasting change is so important. Thank you all so much. There's going to be a little bit more. Marta's going to share some things, and then we're going to have a song. So make sure that you all stick around for a few more minutes. Marta? Are you there?
Hello, everybody. I just, I was kind of sleepy, not sleepy, but, woke up, slept in a little bit, still woke up for this wonderful caucus this morning. But I just want to thank everybody for being on. I'm still amazed at the amount of people that are on the call. But, and even being the chair of ROP, it's very heartwarming. It gives me a lot of enthusiasm. And even during these pressing times, ROP always continues to fight for human dignity, for equal rights, stopping deportations, and we want to continue being an effective grassroots organization. The work of rural Oregonians to fiercely defend, fight for, and take care of our communities depends on the support and generosity of all of us. ROP supporters have been more generous than ever in this difficult time. So today we're asking you to consider giving a financial contribution. If meaningful to you, it's the support that keeps this big movement going. So we're asking that if you can give a little, whatever you can, it's always very appreciative and makes this inspiring times and moments that even though they're virtual, we're all here. We're all for the same thing. there's a lot of things happening that we're not aware of, great things, you know, all these food banks, shelters, people helping each other. So it's very important. And, you know, it's been 29 years that ROP keeps going, no matter what pandemics, no matter what wars, no matter what's going on, we're still here firm on the ground, and it's all thanks to our supporters. So feel free to make your donation at rop.org, or you can send information to Monica at rop.org. So thank you so very much for signing on this beautiful Saturday morning from the ROP team.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Blessings to everybody.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to do a song. I'm going to hand it off to some of our fellows that haven't talked to you all yet. Kayan, Janie, Roberto. There's also Talia that's going to be joining us. Here you go, y'all.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. I thought maybe we'll introduce ourselves first, and then we can show you our song we have. I'm Jamie. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm from Caucus County.
Hi guys, I'm Kian Singer from Umatilla County. My pronouns are she, her.
Hi everybody, my name is Roberto Iriche. My pronouns are él, he, his, and I am from Creek County.
They gotta sing a song. And so are we.
I don't know if Talia made it on, y'all, so you can go ahead and roll forward.
So this is a song that a friend of mine taught to me, and we wanted to share with you. So if it's all right with y'all, I'll kind of give you the melody the first time around, and then maybe we can all join in and sing together the next time. So this is how it goes. Deep inside my heart, I've got an everlasting light. It's shining like the sun. It radiates on everyone. And the more that I give, the more I've got to give. It's the way that I live. It's what I'm living for. So that's how it goes. Would everyone like to join me on the next chorus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Lovely song. Heck yeah.
You haven't already taken yourself off mute. Everyone unmute.
Everyone unmute.
Okay.
Hi, this is Leonora, and I wanted to share that I've been going to a singing group every week, and we mostly don't unmute, we take turns, but what we've noticed is if you stop, a little pause at the end of each line, everybody will catch up and sing. Don't bomb on to the next line, okay?
Thanks, Leonora.
I'm a Zoom singer, I've got a few things. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
Ready. Yeah.
Ready.
1,
unmute,
2, 3. Deep
inside my heart, I've got an everlasting light.
Anything like
radiates
on everyone.
More than
I give.
I've got more.
It's the way that I live. It's what I'm living for.
Hey!
I don't know
Great
we have
work,
time.
everybody.
Try it again. Do a call and response. Where the person who knows the tune goes one line at a time.
That's Leonora.
What we need is a leader.
And can you all put the words in the chat for us?
Put the words back.
Sure. Janie, do you want to lead us through it one more time, one line at a time?
Put the words back.
Sure.
Oh, you don't know them yet? We'll just do it from memory. That'll work out.
Okay.
You want to count down?
Do you want to lead us through one more time, one line at a time? You
Yeah,
sing it, and then we'll all sing it back.
Okay. All right. Deep inside my heart.
Deep inside my heart.
God and everlasting light.
I've got an everlasting light.
It's
shining like the sun.
It radiates on everyone.
It radiates on everyone.
And the more that I give,
And the more that I give,
the more I got to give.
The more I got to give.
It's the way that I live.
It's the way that I live.
It's what I'm living for.
It's what I'm living for.
Oh, that was so good.
Thank you. Sounds better.
Yay.
Good.
Thank you all so much. All right. Well, it was great sitting the morning with you all. Take yourself off mute. Say bye.
Goodbye.